All right, what's going on, guys? Going to do a video explaining kind of the process of going through and adding dependents slash spouse over at va.gov, specifically around adding them for the VA disability side of things, what that looks like. This is something that we've gone through as veterans. My wife and I are both veterans, both have a rating through the VA, and as far as what the VA allows currently in 2023, any children that are living under your household, any stepchildren, any that you are providing for, you can take a look at their website requirements, and I'll bring some of that up onto the screen. But with that said, stepchildren for our side of it was something that the children are under her VA benefits side of thing, but they are also able to be added under mine. We are married and we provide under our household, and that's the current ability through the VA's disability ratings, Veterans Affairs, if you will. And so if you go through and look, you can see that I simply searched adding a dependent at va.gov, and this was the website that I was able to bring up. They explain to you kind of what they define as a dependent or a spouse. And so as you kind of go through that, you can figure out exactly from here what's going to be required if they're under 18, if they're over 18 but in college, etc. If you're having a parent live with you and you're having to take care of them, what are some of the options and the requirements, such as the 30% disability rating. So take a look at that stuff. Make sure that you understand what's required before you're submitting this information. For me personally, this was something where I've already had my rating for some years at this point. Been married at this point for almost 6 months, and the stepchildren that we're in the process of doing the adoption paperwork for, but they are stepchildren at this point in time, have been in our house for almost 7 years plus, and I didn't know that this is something that could be done. Could have done this a long time ago, since they were under our roof and providing for them. But with that said, I did go in, submitted the paperwork that was required, and I'll talk about what that looked like here in a second. And once that paperwork was submitted, this go around, it took only a couple days, and I actually was back paid since the point of our marriage. So it does say that you can get back paid up to potentially a year, assuming that you have the marriage certificate, some other things to prove those dates. That was the case for me. They did back pay up until that 6-month point. For the children, I did not get the back pay 5 years plus that we had been providing. I think I said 7 years. But nonetheless, didn't get that back pay. So this is something where, go through, submit the information. Don't wait like I did, because it's essentially between a spouse and or dependents, you could be talking a couple $100 a month. And with the way things are right now and the cost of things, obviously that can be a huge difference. And if you're dual military like we were, I guess the assumption was behind everything that if they were under one of ours, they couldn't be on both. And that's not the case. And we confirmed that through talking to somebody, calling in and talking to them. So we submitted over the paperwork. Marriage side of things, we did not have to submit a marriage certificate. I have been told that sometimes they will ask for it in writing. We did not have to. But with the children, we had to provide some type of either medical documentation or court documentation to prove that we had custody of them and or provide for them. So there's some different areas that I'll show you where you can go to get that information, whether you place a phone call or just look through the documentation that they're providing here. With that said, you're able to log in, look at your current dependents with this login, or look at adding directly online. You can mail the documentation in. I chose to do it online. Online for me, what that looked like was I needed to have birth dates, social security numbers, and when we started providing, or in the case of my wife, when we got married. If we were ever married before, we had to provide dates of when that happened, where it happened, city, state, and when divorce was final, etc. For us. And in our case, we did have that for both of us. Once that was provided, along with documentation from the court showing that we were the parents of the children, all that was submitted. It can be birth certificates, it can be medical documentation, it can be the court-ordered stuff like what we had. Once the stuff was submitted, in our case, this go-around, within 3 days, I had back pay, and they were now added as dependents in my account. There was a little bit of a nuance that we found out, and I was able to fix by placing a phone call. When I added my wife, her birth date and social were in the account correctly, but the name showed up as my ex-wife's name. They have an automated system behind the scenes that does some of this stuff. It, for whatever reason, looked at it incorrectly. That was verified by calling in and talking to them today. It was roughly a 15-minute wait time to talk to them. They looked at the application that I sent in. They confirmed that the name was correct on my end. The system put in the name incorrectly. So they were able to notate it, make it changed to where it is correct at this point in time, and the dependents are correct in there as well. And so now moving forward, we'll get paid correctly. And I did it on my end. My wife, we have to sit down and do hers. She'll have to do it for adding me and any children on her end that were not already there. So we'll sit down and do that here in the next day or so to make sure that she gets not only back paid, but now gets paid correctly. But I will tell you, this is something where keep the documentation of when you submit. I printed a PDF of when I submitted it, so it was time and date stamped, because we did actually submit this stuff on the portal 2, maybe 3 months ago, and never heard back. Got busy, didn't pay any attention to it. I don't remember seeing any type of mail or documentation saying they were waiting on anything. So I just went ahead and submitted it again. Now I will tell you, on the web portal it does say submit it. If you haven't heard anything a week, don't resubmit. I resubmitted it. It went through within a couple days. So we're going to do the same thing with my wife, and then we should be obviously getting paid at that rate. Now for us, because we're dual military, doing this can be a substantial amount. I mean, we're talking between spouses and kids and things like that, it can be a couple $100s a month. So it's definitely worth your time, and then potentially obviously back pay if you have been married or have been supporting for more than a couple months and not had it on your record correctly. So sign in wise on this portal, I have the DS login. Obviously, if you don't have any of these logins, you're going to have to create that, whether that's doing it on your own or calling in. Make sure that you get these signups taken care of. DS login I've had for years at this point. So the ebenefits and the disability pay and what I'm getting paid every month, all those portals, My Healthy Vet, all that stuff, I've been able to log in with that DS login. So you can kind of see here, it's talking about it right here. I'm going to quickly go into kind of the area of how to add a dependent, kind of what that looked like, just so you can kind of see it, get an understanding for it. But it was fairly simple. When I had the birth date, social security, dates of marriage, dates of divorce, final, where that all happened, had that ready. The actual submission of forms and sending everything in could have been done easily in less than 10-15 minutes. So not something that takes a whole lot of time, but definitely has a benefit to have it correct and have that to where each month you're getting your correct benefits. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the portal where I signed in and just kind of give you a look at that. All right, so logged in at this point and under the add dependent, add or remove. And so you can kind of see it's talking about the form numbers up here at the top of what this looks like for the application. So the 21-6C form and what you're going to need to fill out. And then, as I mentioned, some of the stuff that you're going to be needing or should have kind of with you. It's going to ask you to scan and attach some of these documents, specifically the medical information or proof of that child living with you and you providing. So for us, it was court documentation that was provided. We just needed to have Social Security numbers. We did not have to upload any type of attachment with that. But you can kind of see some of the stuff that is required here to add them, assuming that they're under 18. If they're above 18, below 23, and in school, here's some of the documentation that they're going to ask for. And once you apply, you can kind of see some of this stuff down here. So filling in all this, you go ahead and add or remove. It's super simple. Like I said, maybe 10, 15 minutes. And that was with adding 3 people, spouse and children. So nothing too difficult here, but definitely worth taking the time and providing that, especially if it's going to mean, you know, $200, $300, $400 difference on a monthly payout to you. So if you do have questions, concerns, reach out to us. This is a topic that we'll continue to be covering with the VA benefits, VA disability, etc. Over at lifeafterserving.com, and we've obviously got some of the different points of contact that you can reach out to us. Private Facebook group, if you take and search Life After Serving Vets and First Responders, assuming that you have either served prior in the military or first responder, currently kind of moving, transitioning. That is a private group that we put on and talk through some of these topics and different questions that you might have. We are on TikTok over at DonaldRoss_LAS, YouTube.com/lifeafterserving over there. And we do have the Instagram and Facebooks as well. So if you want to reach out to us, you can touch base on those social media platforms or the website, lifeafterserving.com. And we do have email, lifeafterserving@gmail.com. This is something that we're putting together so that the veterans that have gotten out and first responders that are getting out know some of the different benefits that are available, some of the different resources that are out there. And we'll continue to put this content out as some of those questions arise, not only for our own personal life as we kind of move and transition and do different things in our life, but as well the members that are a part of that. So if you have anything, reach out. Any questions, concerns, would love to hear from you. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next video.